Heyo everybody, Haku here with the second of my 2022 anime awards. This one is Character of the Year, and Character of the Year is kind of a pretty big one. I feel like all of them are pretty important, but Character is a pretty key award to be giving out, and for this one, I don't really think there are a lot of rules. It's pretty obvious. I'm just going to be saying my top 10 favorite characters. This is part of a larger anime awards thing, so if you haven't seen any of the others, go check those out. And yeah, I guess the only real rule that I had was that I was only allowed to do one character per series, so that I didn't load the list down with a bunch that were from the same series. Other than that, I suppose that's really all there is to say for the intro. Starting off with 10th place is Fran from Tensei Shitara Kendeshita, or Reincarnated as a Sword. And so judging from the title, the main character, Shisho, is the guy who is reincarnated into a sword. But it's kind of hard to do an entire series where your main character is a sword. They need a wielder. So our other main character, our female lead, is Fran, who wields the main character. And she is a really awesome main character. She's a really awesome female lead. She was a cat person who was born into this world, wasn't isekai'd here, whose parents were adventurers and took her around when she was a small child, but they were killed. She was sold into slavery, and that's where we start the series with her finding our main character who's been reincarnated as a sword, freeing herself and going to become an adventurer herself. And she's incredible. She is such a good main character. Her backstory and everything surrounding it is so tragic and informs so much about her character, but she goes on and grows so much as a person, so much as a character from there. It's incredible. She has so many really cool moments, especially further on in the series towards the end, especially moments when she's separated from the super powerful reincarnated sword person and she just has to stand completely on her own. She is a really great character personality-wise, story-wise. When it comes to the comedy of the series, her personality is like super deadpan, and it's really, really, really well done too. She just overall, I think, is one of the better characters from the year, obviously.
Yay, yay. Mirai, Psycho! Mirai, Psycho!
俺はお前と契約をしに来た。お前は俺の何が欲しいか言え。自分の死に方には興味ない。俺は俺が殺したい奴を殺せれば、あとはどうなってもいい。And in 9th place is Aki from Chainsaw Man. So going into the anime, I read the manga first, and reading the manga, I think Power was my favorite character. But then, once I watched the anime did so much to elevate Aki's character and his story for me. After watching the anime, I liked him a lot more, and he was my favorite character from it. I really feel like his story does a good job. I guess most of the character stories do, like especially Denji's, the main character, do a good job of exemplifying kind of the main theme of the story, which is, you know, the city mouse or the country mouse. Do you risk your life going after this thing you want, even if it's suffering and loss and danger, or do you stay content with what you have? And he just loses so much over the course of just the first season while chasing after what he wants, which is revenge. And it's all like really, really, really well done. I think the anime really elevated it a lot. He is also a character who is spurred on very well by his relationship to one of the other main characters, kind of the main character, Denji. So that also kind of adds into it too. In 8th place, I have Kate from Shadow's House Season 2, and there was actually a lot of competition for Shadow's House Season 2 for me to try to pick a character from that, but I'm going with Kate. I just have always really, really liked her. I love her design so much. Her design is incredible, and I like her kind of selfless fight to fight against the system, the mysterious place that they're trapped within, even though doing so really doesn't benefit her. It would benefit her to go along
with all of the bad things that are happening in Shadow's house. But instead, she fights against it to do what's right for Emilico and to do what's right for the others. And her and Emilico work really well as this duo of main characters who are great when they're together, but are very often separated in the story and are both great individually with their own interactions with other side characters and everything. So again, her story is incredibly well done. I absolutely love her design, and just her like selfless fight and how she's having to like plan and scheme and like learn things about the mystery and figure things out is really, really, really cool. Seventh place is Ushio from Summertime Render, and Ushio is really the catalyst, the pushing force that moves the story along for Summertime Render. She's, very entertaining as a character, in addition to being, kind and compassionate on top of her being funny and entertaining. She has really cool moments. She has this noble self-sacrificial quality in the things that she does, and especially, I don't want to get into spoilers for the story, the situation or way of existing that she currently is makes it even more tragic, and it's just all so very good. There are a lot of other great characters that Summertime Render has, but to me, Ushio is the central core of the cast that all the other characters are around. Arguably Shinpei is, but I just feel like Ushio to me was really just the heart of the series.
今回は無理やな。これ、私とやったら親子みたいなもんやって言いましたよね。大丈夫ですか？平気平気。行くで、いつか。
My choice for 6th place is Nagamo from Daimon, and I really love him as a character. He's somebody who, right after high school, when he was like 18, left his home to go and pursue his dreams to try to be a musician in Tokyo, and he kind of failed. He kind of floundered at it, but he had a girlfriend, an apartment, and all, and he hears in his early 30s about, I believe he's around 30, 31, I don't remember what exactly the age they said for him was, but he hears about his dad going to the hospital, so he leaves everything. He loses his girlfriend, he leaves everything from his life in Tokyo behind, moves back in with his parents in his early 30s. His parents run a wakigashira, or like a traditional Japanese confectionery shop, and they also had a young girl who was abandoned by her parents that's staying with them, and early in the series his mother tells him that this girl needs a father figure, this girl needs somebody in her life, a parental figure, and you're gonna have to mature and be that. And from there we see in the series this awesome, amazing character who isn't good at wakigashira, isn't good at candy making. He's not even really great as a musician, which is kind of why he floundered at it. But somebody who's just so caring and kind, somebody who does so much to bring light into other people's lives, that though he's kind of goofy and clumsy and bad at everything, he's an amazing part in so many other people's lives, and is just, again, this shining central point to the cast of the series.
よろしく相棒、千里です。井上滝菜です。去年京都から転属になったばかりなの。おお、転属組、優秀なのね。年は16です。私が一つお姉ちゃんか。けど3はいらないからね。千里で OK。
And then in our top 5, in 5th place is Chisato from the Chorus Recoil, which again is kind of another like heart of a series, another core of a series, somebody that brings light into other people's lives. She's very cool, but she's also very funny. A great character in a well-rounded way, but again, the best part of her is how she works in the story to come into Takina's life and to brighten her life, to change her for the better. And we see how she does that for so many people. And for some, it almost seems like a curse, the way that she comes in and kind of makes them change arguably for the better and kind of frees people from the things that are holding them back. She's a really, really great character in that sense, and she serves as an amazing foil for one of the antagonists, Majima. She's such a good foil for him as well. So again, incredibly great character.
しかし、俺には助けてくれる別の父親がいた。お前にも誰か助けてくれる人が必要だったんだ。俺は決してお前を見捨てはしない。世界を救う時はお前と一緒だ。
In fourth place, I've got Zeke from Attack on Titan, and Attack on Titan final season part 2, I should say. If I'm talking about the entire series overall, Zeke is rated pretty highly for me, but I don't really think he would be number one. I'm a big Armin guy, also a big fan of Reiner, but for specifically this part of the story, the season that aired in 2022, Zeke was my favorite part of it. I can't go into too much about his specific plot stuff without getting spoilery, but I will say I've always thought that his ideology was very interesting, and also, truth be told, Zeke was kind of right. Like, Zeke was call me Yelena, because Zeke was kind of right. He was kind of spitting. But in this part of the story, we had him returning to the battle after the stuff with Levi at the end of part 1 of the final season. And going on from there, we have the stuff in the paths with him and Grisha and Eren. And that stuff is really, really, really good. And also, with Attack on Titan, it's always questionable whether, like, things would have always ended up a certain way, regardless of what characters chose to do, because of, like, fate stuff. Like, did anybody ever really have any freedom? But I will say that, you know, honestly, if he wasn't so determined to save Eren, because he was determined to save Eren himself, he probably could have succeeded. Like, unless, you know, grand fate things got in the way. He probably could have succeeded if it wasn't for him not wanting to succeed without also saving Eren. That was a big part of what he was trying to do. So yeah, I think that, again, maybe not my favorite character in the series as a whole, but one of my favorites in the series as a whole. Top 5 for sure, maybe even top 3. And I think for this part of the story is, like, the top character. I mean, I probably would have still also said Armin for this if Armin wasn't in kind of like a dumb position during this part of the story.
私は皆さんのお役に立つ人形でありたいです。一緒にお仕事をして、いっぱいの笑顔に囲まれて、いつかまた一緒に歌いたいなってそう思います。
In third place is Haizakura from Prima Doll, and big oof, being Prima is suffering. I probably also can't say a terrible amount without being spoilery, but I will say that she is a very tragic character. Bad things happen. A lot of bad things happen. Bad things constantly happen, and she just deserves some good. She does so much good. Throughout the course of the series, she does so much good for others. She's so pure and innocent and, like, trying to be helpful for everyone. She serves as a funny comedic relief at times when there are more serious things going on. And her reward for all the good she does for others is more pain and more suffering. And it's really, really a bummer. But, like, we see this with a lot of the other characters in my top 10. I guess suffering kind of makes or enhances a character, and also being the emotional central core, the light for the rest of the cast, to me enhances a character, because she is both of those things. The suffering of Aki, maybe even more than that, with the shining light of Chisato.
あの子の母親になるの。こうかしら。はい。ご機嫌いかが？
いつの間に？
私に任せなさい。走れ！それそれ！
And our runner-up in second place is Queen Healing from Osama ranking. And she starts out, she comes into the story and you think, I've seen this character before. You think she is going to be the archetypical, just evil stepmother. But then she is so much more than that. The way that her and her relationship with Boji work is just so much more complex than that. It's more like she sees him as somebody who needs to be protected, somebody who is weak or incapable, and she tries to shelter him and is almost too strict in trying to shelter him. And one of the things that she has to learn over the course of the series is that's not what he needed. and that's not what he needs. And that is like, it's so cool seeing a character learn that, oh, I've made mistakes. They were mistakes for a good reason. I had a good heart when I made those mistakes, but it's not what I needed to do. And in addition to that, she just, as a mother, because of that relationship, is developed so much along the course of the series, but also just as an individual person, completely away from Boji, is developed so well. She just stands on her own as such a great character individually, and also as such a great character as a mother. And I think that she's incredibly cool for not only breaking down away from the stereotype that I thought she'd be, but also just being incredible on top of that.
落ち着きな。何落ち着いてんだよ。代わりゆく私を許してください。それで満足かよ。みんなを怖がらせて楽しいか。私の顔ひど。
And our winner for 2022 Character of the Year is Nagomi from Akiba Maid War. She is a perfect example of things I've brought up before, being an emotional core, being somebody who suffers a lot, and also being somebody who really well exemplifies the main theme that the story is trying to tell us. She starts off as this normal girl who wants to go work at a maid cafe, who wants to be this maid brightening other people's days, and then she learns that the world of maids that she lives in is violent and bloody and gruesome and selfish. And she's presented constantly with seeing that all these characters, whether they started out like her or not, at some point they adapted to their surroundings. It's kind of beaten over our head with the Creatureland group and how they keep saying, you know, you're a creature, adapt to your environment. The theme of the story is, do you adapt to your environment, or do you overcome your environment? Do you do what you want to do, stand on your own, even if you lose everything in the process? She is somebody who is constantly faced with that. Does she become like everybody else and conform to the violent, selfish environment that she's in? Or does she fight against her environment to be the type of maid that she set out to be to begin with? And again, I don't want to spoil the ending because the ending is so incredibly good, but that is what she's faced with. She's faced with loss and heartbreak all along the way, and again embodies that question and has you as an audience wondering, especially towards the end, does she adapt to her surroundings or does she rebel against her surroundings? And being a character and having that story told so incredibly well in Akiba Maid War puts her at number one. The direction and storytelling for Akiba Maid War is some of the best from the entire year. So, and again, she's the central point of that. Her and Ranko, but again, Ranko serves as sort of another side to that coin in a way. But yeah, either way, that would be it. Those are the top 10, and of course our winner Nagomi. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Again, many more awards coming. This is the second, so there's still 5 more to come after this. Thank you so much for watching. Like if you like the video, comment down there to tell me what you thought of my top 10, and tell me who your favorite characters were from the year. And other than that, I guess subscribe for more. Follow on Twitter if you want. If you want a link to the Discord server, it's free and open for anyone. And if you'd like to help support the channel, you can drop a super thanks down below. Or if you want One Piece a bit early and you want a shout out at the end of every video, you can hit join down below to become a member, or go to patreon.com/HakuOfTheTubes, or a link will be in the description to become a patron. So, like I said, shout out to patrons and members. Thank you so much. Thank you to Chosen Regular Evan Holly, Magical Girls, FR Nono and Smeller Dog, Cheriton Student, David Langstaff, Slayer Candidates, SG and Stance Eater, and Pure Element Pate Ardealo. Thank you all so much for your support. Thank you so much, and I'll see you all next time.